What's happening, y'all? What's happening? This your boy Coach Marshall from the More Than the Coach podcast. And tonight, y'all, I'm gonna end 2023 with a very special guest. It's gonna be a great show. We all have a good time. And before we get on, and I bring my guest on, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and do this bills that I had to pay. So y'all know I gotta always thank the people that sponsor me and support as well. The More Than the Coach podcast. Always tune in, y'all, to Saginaw's #1 podcast, to the Mr. and Mrs. Marshall podcast, where it's all about life, love, and relationships. Y'all make sure y'all tune in every Sunday, 8 p.m. Also, I got to give a big shout out to Baldwin Multimedia. Baldwin Multimedia supports me, helps me with my videos, music, all kind of things. So if y'all need that, reach out to Reg Baldwin. He do it big, y'all. And also I got to go to my partner, Greg Lewis from JKG Apparel and Design. Built what you believe in. You can contact him 989-980-48338. Also, you can email him at jkathletics@gmail.com. Big shout out to my guy, Andreas from Saginaw, Michigan, living out there in North Carolina with his own app, Liveways. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Get on that app, y'all. It's a beautiful thing. The brother's doing some positive stuff, y'all. And he right here from the city of Saginaw. And last but not least, beautifully, just being me, is my wife here, beauty products. Y'all check her out, y'all. She can help your beards grow, your face stay glowing, your hair grow. Y'all follow up with her, y'all. So tonight, y'all, I got a special guest, as I said. I see you in the green room waiting to come on. So before I bring him in, I got to get a special introduction, y'all, of this guest. My guest tonight is a graduate from Bridgeport High School. He's a former collegiate and professional football player who is now devoted father, husband, beautiful family, as y'all see on the screen. He's also a big time international speaker who has a long list of accomplishments since he's been speaking. He's been featured in Forbes, Yahoo, Crane's Detroit Business, WSJ, Good Morning America, and many more. This was one of my favorites. He even went and spoke to my Cowboys. Sorry, Detroit Lion fans, but he kind of jinxed y'all a little bit. He went and spoke to him. So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight, too. He's also spoken at many high schools, like I said, with the Dallas Cowboys, Notre Dame University, Wisconsin University, Michigan University, Central Michigan University, and so much more. So tonight, y'all, I need y'all to help me welcome on this More Than the Coach podcast, my partner, my friend. Let me see, we got to get him on the screen. Where is he? There he is. I see him. What's happening, my brother?
Coach, how you doing?
Man, Mr. J. Brown, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, man. I could not be better. I've been excited to jump on the podcast with you tonight, and we go way back, so I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Man, it's been big. You know, we bumped into each other this summer at the Gunpacker. Um,
Yep.
when I seen your giant over there hooping, and man, and instantly I didn't even think basketball. All I thought about was I got to get him on the podcast.
Yep.
That's all that kept going in my head. And when I asked you, you was like, "Get back with me." And I've been seeing since then. You've been a busy brother. You know, traveling the world, doing some beautiful, positive things out there, man.
hmm
Um, I had a video clip I wanted to play beforehand, but I'm gonna play it to my basketball team because it was so powerful what you talked about, and it was off one of your uh, speaking engagements.
hmm
So I'll find it. And I got to play it a little bit, but also just so I just seen the message too. They can also follow this. It's streaming live now on YouTube on the More Than the Coach podcast.
Okay.
It started at 8 o'clock, so they'll be able to stream it, and even when we get done, it'll restream as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, sir. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna play that clip that I had found out. I have to play this so everybody can hear it. Motivate, recreate, and activate. But the first thing I want you to realize about me is that I am a human being. Yes, sir. At the end of the day, I'm a human being. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've failed a lot. Manifest and put into action and expect what you want in your life. Recreate your mind. You have the ability to recreate your thoughts and to recreate your mind, to do the things that you want to do in your life. That was, to go on, but that was powerful to me, and I want to tell you that I watched that the last couple of days over and over, and things in there motivated me. It's like, man, I got to let my team hear this before we come out next week. Sometimes you look for motivation and things to encourage people, but I think that's going to motivate them and encourage them.
Absolutely.
And plus, always a Bridgeport grad, so they got to respect it. And a lot of these kids don't know of you. They new to the team from when me and you came down the bridge, we spoke and things like that. So it's gonna be interesting. So how you been, Mr. Brown?
I've been great, Coach. I couldn't be better, man. I'm looking forward to 2024. There's been a lot of blessings, a lot of growth, a lot of things that have happened in 2023. But I am prime for 2024. I've got a lot of big plans. I've got a lot of things that I want to do in my life, and I'm not waiting around for somebody else to do it for me. So I'm excited. My word, I always pick a word every year. My word for 2024 is activate.
Activate.
And everything that I have set up in the past couple of years, I'm going to activate, and I'm going to fail forward.
Oh yeah, true. And even right now, while you just brought it up, and that was one of my questions, can you elaborate on what fail forward means?
Yeah, so failing forward for me came back in 2006, right before I went to the NFL. I went down to Atlanta, Georgia, to go visit my aunt, the vet, and she asked me a simple question, something that I'd never forget. And she said, "Jake, what happens if football doesn't work out?" And I looked at her because I was 22 years old. I was in the best shape of my life. I had just run a 4.38 at my pro day, and I caught every single ball. Like everything was aligning for me. And I had already talked to a couple of NFL teams, and she asked me that question, and I didn't understand why she was asking me that question. But when she asked me, I said, "Well, if football doesn't work out, I'll just fall back on what I was getting my degree in at the time, which was graphic and web design from Central Michigan." And she says, "Jake, if you're ever going to fail or if you're ever going to fall, always fall or fail forward." And as soon as she told me that, Coach, I said, that's crazy, because in football, we're taught when you're running the ball and you get tackled to do what?
Fall forward.
Fall forward. And the reason is because you gain extra yards, even though you failed at the task, right? The task is to score a touchdown.
That's
but
right.
if you fall forward, even if you get tackled, you still gain those extra yards. And if you get tackled on the 1 yard line and you fall forward, what happens?
Touchdown.
Touchdown, right? So even in our failures, we can still score. We can still succeed. And I always tell people, listen, I've never seen anyone get tackled and go back to the line of scrimmage and start the play over there. They start where they got the progress, right? So even though we fail in our life, in our relationships, in our businesses, in our fatherhood, our parenting, whatever we might fail in, you still have that knowledge and the progress that you had leading up to that failure, right? That you can take into the next project, the next phase of your life. And that's how you fail forward. You don't believe that you're a failure or that everything was wasted. You take that knowledge and the progress into the next phase of your life, the next project, the next relationship, or whatever it might be, and you'll be that much further ahead than what other people that haven't failed ever before.
Man, that's powerful. I love it. And look at that, your auntie spoke it all in existence back then. I'll look at you now.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how was the Christmas with the family?
Christmas with the family. Christmas is still going. We had Christmas on the 26th, and we're still going. And it's just great to see my family. You know, I have 6 siblings. I'm the middle child of 7, and when we can all get together, minus my brother, he's a assistant strength coach for LSU, and they've got a bowl game on the first, so he wasn't able to come up, but everyone else was able to come and enjoy one another. And whenever we're able to get together, we try to savor as much time and moments. And you'll probably see us singing sometime on Facebook because we also love to sing. And but it's just been a great time, a great Christmas, and we're also starting to think about Christmas a little different. You know, it's not all about the gifts, it's not all about the toys. It's more about the time that we're spending together. So life is getting a lot shorter, and time is probably the best present that you can give is your presence.
That's true. Because I'll be honest, um, I had my family, my kids, my wife, grandkids over. You know,
Hmm.
man, and it was just a blessing just to
Yeah,
sit back on the couch and just enjoy my family.
absolutely.
Like you said, it wasn't about the gifts. It wasn't about any of that. It was just that time,
Hmm.
because those are things that we could never take back. So,
Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate that. Now, I had to ask you, like I said, I've been knowing you for a while, and ever
Yeah.
since I know you, you always been a motivational guy. You always encourage people, kids. Oops. So, what got you into motivational speaking?
You know, it's funny. I never wanted to be a motivational speaker. I can remember growing up, and my dad he'd be playing, you know, Les Brown and Jim Ron and Zig Ziglar, and I would hear it, but I wasn't really allowing it to soak in, you know. And my mom would be speaking things into our lives. You know, she would always tell us to think positive and speak things into existence. And before any football game, I would lay down on my back, and she'd tell me to close my eyes and envision myself scoring a touchdown, hitting a game-winning home run, or jumping over the hurdles. And I'd get in, and what she was teaching me is visualizing success before it happened,
Yes.
right? And the older I got and the more I started to lead more and more people, I started to understand why my parents were infusing that positive mindset and just positivity in my mind. My dad used to say, be careful what you listen to,
Mm,
right? Because whatever you're listening to is going to affect your heart. And I never thought about why what I was listening to would affect my actions and the things that I did, and even the way I thought about myself,
yes.
right? So a lot of people don't really realize what they're intaking becomes what's inside of them, and that is what's going to come out, because whatever's inside of you will eventually come out, right? So I thank God for both of my parents for instilling a positive mindset and positive verbiage into my life.
Mhm.
And later on, I started to post and share short stories on LinkedIn and Facebook around 2017. You know,
Okay.
when I felt like I had made it. You know, I was making some good money working for an agency, and I had been through a lot of stuff in my life. And at that point, I'm like, man, I'm good. Life is good. You know, my children are good. My family's good. My job is good. Everything is good. I want to give back and tell short stories and give motivation to younger people that are coming through the ranks of corporate America, so that they understand like they can fail at these points in their life and still fail forward. So that's where, if you see this post board behind me that says "Speak what you seek and fail forward,"
Mm,
I started to make short posts and always hashtag fail forward, and that just became something that continued to grow. And you know, Bridgeport was one of the first places that actually offered me a keynote
mm.
opportunity. So I came and spoke at the 2017 commencement for the graduation at Bridgeport High School up in at the Dow Center, and it was absolutely incredible, man. It was a moment where I felt that I could tell a story or tell short stories or talk in a positive way that might impact more than just one-on-one people or a few people here and there, but I can kind of impact masses. And that's where it started to kind of trickle in and take off, but not until about 2021 did things actually start taking off. So
Okay.
that's how I got into motivational speaking, which is what I do now full time.
Yep. And you know, it's funny that you talk about that graduation when you spoke. I still
Hmm.
talk to some of my former players, and we reminisce about a lot. And it's a lot of them remember some of the stuff that you brought up and you talked about. So a lot of people don't realize, as coaches, as speakers, we might not think they might get it back right then and there,
Oh
but
yeah.
years later, some of those guys still talk about it. And you made a big impact. And like I said, since I've been at Bridgeport since 2016, every year they've been bringing people in, but I think it still hasn't been impactful like when you came because
Hmm.
you from there, you know. And one of those young men came back just this past year and spoke at the last graduation that you
That's all.
spoke to. Yes,
That's awesome.
yes, he did. And you know, and it was just funny to see, wow, you spoke to them, and he graduated and came back and spoke. You know, so what you're doing, man, it is impacting home too.
Coach,
So,
I appreciate that. That's
sir,
if there's any place I wanted to impact, it's where I came from. So
that's
I
right.
thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah. So I gotta ask, since we talked that about that, what makes your job exciting? Of course, the travel.
Hmm. The travel is fun, man. It's definitely fun. It's fun when I get to go to nice places where I can take my wife and we can use it as a vacation, man. There's nothing better. And but at the end of the day, Coach, what I do and why I do what I do is probably the most important thing to me. As I mentioned, I went through a lot in my life. I would say the past 2 decades of my life, there's been a lot that has happened that I've had to fail forward through,
Mhm.
and to get to this point in my life. And what I really love to be able to do is to speak short stories, um, give people strategies and ideas. And at the end of the day, they're just my opinions, but I love to give people ideas and strategies that they can take and use and transform their mind and their life. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to empower people to
Mhm.
go after the things that they want and that they say they want, but also give them the tools to be able to do that.
Right.
Right. And a lot of times people don't even know they can do that unless they can relate to someone that already has.
That's
They always say you know what you can be by what you can see, and unless you can see someone in the presidency that might look like you, or unless you can see someone in a position that may have failed and fall through the ranks and made their way up the ladder, or
Mhm.
unless you can see another coach that is coaching in your position that went through a lot to get to that position. Now that gives you the opportunity to say, I can do it too,
Exactly.
right? So all I'm trying to do is empower people that they can do it too, if they put their mind to it, and if they truly believe that they deserve it.
That's right. I like that. So, how do you deal with disappointments that you might have felt? How do you deal with them?
How I deal with disappointments, I tell a story of the old Chinese farmer that once lost his horse. And the moral of the story is that at this point in my life, now I won't say that this has always been, but at this point in my life, anytime something bad happens in my life, there's a saying in China, and they say, Sai Wing Shi Ma. Okay.
Hmm.
The Sai Wing Shi Ma means remember the old man that once lost his horse, because this old man lost his horse, and all the villagers came around and they said, oh, that's so bad. We're sorry that happened. And the old man just said, maybe it's bad. And the
Mm.
next day, the horse returned with 7 wild horses. And everybody came around and said, hey, that's great fortune, isn't it? And he says, maybe, right? Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know yet. What I've learned is that everything that happens in our lives is not happening to us, but it's happening for us,
Mm.
right? We can look back in our lives and we can say, okay, this situation happened in my life. What did I need to learn from it? How did I grow from it? And how can I help someone else that might go through that same thing, right? And
Okay.
I firmly believe, and we always say, God never puts anything more on you than you can bear. And the
Yes.
reason why he allows his strong soldiers to take and carry those burdens is to help other people, right? God
Yes.
blesses us in order to be a blessing.
Mhm.
So how I handle disappointments is I try my best. And I'm telling you right now, even when I got laid off from jobs, even when I lost friends, whatever it might be, I try to, in that moment, remember that everything that's happened to me in the past has turned out and been made for my good,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And unless some of those things have happened, I wouldn't even have a story, right? I wouldn't have a story of perseverance. I wouldn't have a story of failing forward. I wouldn't even know what to talk about unless I had gone through those life experiences to be able to help someone else that might go through those life experiences. So what I try to do in my disappointments is understand that I have to go through that because I'm either being forced to learn or to grow, or to be able to show someone else how they can get through it as well.
Man, that's powerful. Wow. I hope y'all listeners heard that. He just broke it down clear to the point. Man, so I know you said your dad listened to some guys, but who are your role models in your profession?
Oh man, I listened to Eric Thomas. I mean, first and foremost, back in 2012, 2011, I started listening to ET, and
Yeah.
I just love the passion he speaks with. I love his story. I love what he talks about. And I love his grind. At the end of the day, I'm a grinder. I play football. No one's going to outwork me. ET says no one's going to outwork him. Nobody will outwork me. I will work night and day to be the best that I can to do what I need to do in this world. Okay. But I listen to Eric Thomas. I listen to Mel Robbins. I love Mel Robbins. If you guys don't follow her, I listen to Tony Robbins, obviously. And Simon Sinek is another really good speaker that I love to listen to, and also Brene Brown. So I've got a plethora of speakers that I try to pull wisdom and knowledge from, and understand how they're reaching their audiences so that I can better reach mine as well.
That's right. And that's what I do even in podcasting. I watch multiple guys, shows, and
Hmm.
it's like while I take notes like I'm in class,
Absolutely.
I want to feel that way. And like even one of my shows I listened to, they were talking about I was in the clinic and it was like, why are you sitting and waiting? If you want them, go find them.
Absolutely.
2 weeks later, I seen you at the Gus Macker. Couple weeks, like even before that, I met with Des Ferguson. So it's been a blessing to have guys like yourself touch this platform, Des Ferguson, as well as many other young up and coming local people that I've touched. But it's kind of like it's time to go out and, like you said, fail forward because all
Yeah,
they do is tell me no. You know,
absolutely.
and I done had a couple say no, but guess what? I keep going and keep knocking.
Yep.
So you also encourage me, so you would know that not only when I'm coaching, and I'll never forget the one game you brought your sons and you stood on the sideline,
Yep.
and I just can hear you even out there still with that same passion. And we might not have won that game, but those boys never quit. They fought
Hmm.
hard, and that's all I always ask. And now knowing we was always failing forward.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that big time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
So I got a few more questions to ask, man, and I know it's a work night, you know. So even with myself, man, I be up at 4 a.m. working, then in the gym until 7. So then doing this because I'm a grind too.
Absolutely.
But I must ask you, what would you tell the 18-year-old Jacob Brown today?
Oh man, what I would tell the 18-year-old Jacob Brown, I would tell myself not to be so hard on myself. I
Mm,
would I would definitely tell myself not to be so hard on myself. I spent a lot of time trying to fit in and trying to trying to compete with other people instead of focusing on myself and competing with myself. And I spent a lot of time doubting myself and doubting my abilities. When I left Central, or when I left Bridgeport, I was a quarterback my whole life, and I went to Central and I was a wide receiver. And I told this story at the graduation where I went to Central and I was a wide receiver. In my mind, I was already telling myself I wasn't good enough to play wide receiver. So I just did just enough to stay on the team and to start,
mhm.
and which is crazy to me because I only caught about 8 balls in the first 3 years of my career at Central Michigan. Yet I still started all 3 years,
Wow.
and I look back and I say, what would have happened if I had actually believed in myself and did all of the things that my parents taught me to do coming up, and allowed myself to be the best Jacob I could have been from 18 to 21. Like what would have happened if I had done that? Because it was only 1 year, coach, that helped propel me to the NFL. And that was my 5th year. And that was the only year I actually stepped on the field with confidence and belief in myself. And I would tell myself, believe in yourself and to focus within, because trying to be like other people is not going to get you there. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be yourself. And even if you get laughed at, if you get made fun of, you'll get the last laugh at the end.
That's right. Man, that's powerful. So all my 18-year-olds and under, I hope y'all heard that message because that's the truth.
Yeah.
Man, outstanding. So at this point, I know you said you got a new word for 2004, 24, excuse me. And
Yeah.
that's that I had to ask you, like, if it was a brief message you can give to everyone going into this 2024, what would that be tonight?
Yeah. My word is activate. I have a word for every year. So this year in 2023, my word was right. And at the end of the day, not only did I want to write my book that should be launching in February of
Okay.
2024, but I also did a better job at reaching out to friends and family to write to them, whether it was a text message, whether it was just checking on them, or whether I was just trying to encourage people. I tried to do a better job at writing.
Mm.
Okay. In 2024, my what I'm going to do is activate all of the things and the thoughts and the ideas that I've had in my head. I'm going to activate. I'm going to put them into action. I'm launching my book. I'm going to be starting my podcast, Coach, in January. I'm going to be hopefully speaking on more stages and activating other people even more so. I'm going to activate my family. We're going to be a bit more involved within the church. We are going to do more internally and externally. I'm also a co-founder of Varlo. Varlo is the
Yes.
fastest growing cycling and triathlon apparel brand in the world. We just partnered with REI. We launched in January of 2020, and we've grown 400% year over year. Next year is our activation year. We are going to take the world by storm, right?
Mm.
So there's a lot that I'm going to be activating. And what I want to encourage other people is, look, a lot of people are sitting on jobs that they don't like. A lot of people are sitting on ideas that they haven't put into
Mm.
activation. A lot of people are not going after the things in their lives that they know they should, and they don't want to let another year pass and say, I wish I would have. You know, a lot of people say, if you start what you want to start this at this point today, 6 months from now, you'll be happy with yourself, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't activate. We don't start that thing. We don't start working out or walking outside, or we don't start doing push-ups at night. We don't start eating more healthy. We don't start that book that we know we want to write. We don't start the podcast that we wish we had started, right? And we end up
Mhm.
watching all these other people going after their goals and losing weight and living their dreams and taking risk and failing forward. And we're still in the same spot that we are right
Yeah.
now. The worst place you can be next year, this time, is exactly where you are right now. You've got to evolve. You've got to activate. You've got to move forward, even if it's small increments,
Yeah.
small increments. Build a brick a day. I got the Will Smith book right behind me, and he
Hmm.
talks about his dad made him build a wall, and him and his brother would stack bricks every day, just brick by brick every day. And he couldn't stand doing this job. But what his dad was teaching him is that if you put a brick in place every single day, eventually you will have a wall. It's the
Mm.
same thing with your goals and your dreams. You got to build a brick. You got to build one thing at a time. You've got to dig in the ground one day at a time. You've got to
Yes.
push down that wall one day at a time, because eventually you will be sitting in a place where you'll be happy with yourself and you can look back and say, I'm glad I started when I did.
That's right. Man,
2024 is a year of activation.
activation. And you're right. And I'm gonna take that message to myself and continue to push forward
Yes,
and
sir.
do what I'm supposed to do and continue to activate. Because, like you said, this was a dream of mine.
Yeah.
Talking on the phone, saying stuff to myself. So go do a podcast, man. I ain't finna do no podcast. They said, you know what? Let's go for it. Jumped off the bridge, and now I'm closing out the season 3 tonight with you on the show,
I love it.
and looking forward to the next season in January and starting it up, as well as me and my wife's Mr. and Mrs. Marshall podcast, where we talk about life, love, and relationships. And that's kind of like skyrocketing right now. So we failing forward, and we gonna keep pushing forward to do it. So I'm gonna be honest. We talked about a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about. You know, I have on the screen your website with Jay
Hmm.
at failforwardbrown.com, where people can follow up with you. They can also follow you on IG, and please do. He's also a life coach, and if you get on his website, you can follow up everything that he's talked about. You can reach out to him if you need him to come speak. There's the man right here, you know. And I'm gonna definitely reach back out to the AD Gabe and the principal over there to get you back at Bridgeport, because this new generation need to hear you,
Absolutely.
need to hear you and see you.
I
So,
appreciate that, Coach.
man, Jake, it's been an honor tonight to have you on the show. You know, like I said, way to have a season finale by having guys like you on. You know, and I appreciate you, my brother. and I'm gonna continue to listen to you, follow you, and be encouraged by the words and the positive things that you do and put out there, man. And I thank you again for coming on the More Than the Coach podcast, my brother.
Thank you, Coach, and I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you started when you did because you're
Yes,
doing a great job. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in 2024.
yes, I'm gonna activate.
All right. All right.
Well, you have a good night, man. Tell the family I said hello and happy new year. And I'll definitely be touching bases with you in the future. And I'll be watching for the podcast too.
All right, Coach. I'll
All
see you.
right. Yes, sir. Have a good
Take care.
night.
God
All right.
bless.
Yes. So, y'all, tonight we had my friend, Mr. Jacob Brown, on the podcast. It was a great podcast, special to have a former Bearcat on that's uh, just bright, shining bright man. So like I said, y'all, check out his website. Y'all follow him. You know, he can motivate you, teach you some things, and a brother have a real powerful story. So y'all, this your boy Coach Marshall. I thank y'all for tuning in, supporting me all year. The first two seasons, the first three seasons, excuse me. Looking for season 4, where it's gonna be bigger and better. So with that being said, y'all, this your boy Coach Marshall from the More Than the Coach podcast. Peace.